Meanwhile, former Vice President, 2024 presidential candidate Kamala Harris is back in the news, and she is making the news. Yesterday, her new book was released. It is titled 107 Days. Harris gives readers some surprises. She has some unpleasant things to say about some Democrats, including her former boss, former President Joe Biden. She said his decision to run for re-election was, quote, reckless. Harris also writes that she had a, quote, red file contingency plan. Harris wrote in her book that her brother-in-law, Tony West, started what he called the red file. It was started a year before President Biden dropped out of the 2024 presidential race. The book also reads, quote, with a president in his 80s, he suggested it would be malpractice on my part to be unprepared if, God forbid, something should happen, end quote. Former Special Assistant to President Biden and former Press Secretary to the First Lady, Michael LaRosa, joins me. Nice to see you, Michael.
Nice to see you, too.
Okay, your thoughts on the book?
I thought it was impressively candid for a vice president, for a politician who is known and who demonstrates to be very risk-averse, very politically correct, always diplomatic, but never really offering much of her own opinions about much of anything.
Why'd she write it?
I don't know. It's a great question.
It doesn't make her necessarily look better?
Actually, no, absolutely not. And she's smart enough, and her team is smart enough to know that a lot of the people that were name-checked in the book would not be happy. She knows that, and she knows she's going to take incoming for what she said. I don't have any doubt that they were aware of how this would play and that there would be a lot of unhappy Democrats in response.
Here's what I never understood. Maybe you can fill me in. Is candidate Biden chose her as his running mate. And I will never forget when they were running against each other in the Democratic primary debates. Yeah. And she was as nasty as could be to him. And it was so wicked that you felt sorry for him. So, I mean, if I were Joe Biden, she'd be the last woman in the world that I would let, that I'd have. I mean, first of all, I can't believe Joe Biden would pick her. There are a lot of African-American women, as he promised. But I never could figure that out.
Yeah, and I think from what I remember from being there that summer with them, you know, I think Dr. B, I think this has been maybe written about, but she was really, I think her and Valerie, his sister, were particularly pushing Susan Rice. I don't know if that would have been the best pick either. I think the president actually really liked Gretchen Whitmer, but I think there was a lot of pressure coming from the interest group side of the Democratic Party, including Congressman Clyburn.
Well, she's in a, that was in South Carolina. She's in a bad position because she says that, you know, that Biden should have gotten out of the race, that it was reckless. On the other hand, she was standing by his side, and she said upon the view, she said the policies didn't differ. I mean, she was defending him on the one hand during the course of the administration, but then she comes out and jabs him.
Well, two things. I mean, I read that a little bit differently.
Okay.
I interpreted what she said as the decision for everybody to fall in line, including her, that it was leaving it to Jill and Joe, and that we'd all just fall in line and parrot that sort of response or that sort of message. That's what I interpreted as what she thought was reckless.
Well, I thought
was that she didn't have the guts to step in and say that.
Well, I mean, I also, I'm sort of sympathetic to this, is that maybe she should have in private stepped in, because there certainly seemed at that debate in June that there were a lot of deficits, and she should have stepped in. And she had available a constitutional amendment. She had a duty to the American people.
And it just reflects the problem people have with the vice president, is that they didn't think that she had ability to stand on principle or guts or the ability to sort of think for herself in that respect.
But on the other hand, it would have looked, I mean, you know, let's be fair to her, it would have looked like she were like leading the march to get him out. It would have made her look like she was doing it just for herself.
And to be fair to the vice president, there would never be a clean enough break. There is no clean break that she could ever make. She was a good number two to him. She really was. She did everything that the Bidens had ever asked of her and Doug Emhoff, and they were incredibly loyal. And she transitioned to being number two very well, very seamlessly.
My information's from the outside. You're on the inside. But for the life of me, if my husband had those deficits that I saw publicly, he was kept hidden from us. The president was kept hidden from the media, so we couldn't assess it. But we were, our eyes were open.
Trust me, I know. I experienced the back end of suggesting he shouldn't be hidden from the public.
But I don't understand why the First Lady, Joe Biden, because it ended up being sort of cruel, his exit. He could have gone out as a hero to the party. But why didn't you say, Joe, come on, let's just go back to Delaware?
Yeah. And it's a shame that, I've tried to tell the story of Jill Biden, and I try to provide as much insight as I can. And look, the bottom line is Jill Biden is sort of shaped, I think both of the Bidens are very, very much have scar tissue from that 1987 campaign where they were forced out by the press and the pundits. And Jill Biden they had only been married 10 years. He was the golden child of Delaware and the next Jack Kennedy. And she had never seen his integrity ever questioned before that. And it was a scarring experience for both of them. He never ran for president for 20 years. So they felt the more people pushed them to get out, they were only going to dig in. And she has that.
But the problem is, had he left after 4 years, he would have been a hero to the Democratic Party, that I'm the one who beat Donald Trump. Yeah. And instead, he goes out sort of like a tail between his legs, and everyone's looking at him thinking like, were you even present for the last 4 years? The auto pen story, everything makes him look so bad.
Correct. This is a tragedy. The way this is all happening, the pardons, some really horrific, violent murderers have really made me sick to my stomach, because I thought so much.
Was that his decision? Do you think he knew about those pardons?
I don't know. I'd love to know. I don't know if some woke lawyer in the White House counsel's office decided to throw them in there and he didn't know. I don't know. It just doesn't sound like the Joe Biden that I know, that you would give mercy to the most egregious.
But who would? No, I mean, like, nobody in his right mind. Nobody in his right mind on either side. I mean, that's what somebody did. Somebody in the White House did.
Somebody did. I would love to know who, because it's really doing a disservice to the legacy. It is one brick in a pile of bricks that have fallen for this poor guy and his legacy. And it's not going to be, he won't have the time that Jimmy Carter has had to recover. This is not going to be that. And the Bidens thought very conventionally from the moment we got there that no one would ever challenge a sitting president. And so you saw how they ran scared. Because
boy, they went after Trump.
They tried to manipulate the Democratic primary. They were running scared, and they were running out the clock by thinking they could get away with not communicating to voters by doing just this, talking you and me. He wasn't anywhere. And that was the strategy that needed done, and Mike Donilon designed.
The administration did go after Trump viciously, because if you look at Trump won all of them. So, I mean, it's like it really is bad what happened.
Are you referring to the lawfare? Or
the lawfare. I mean, it's really
DOJ. And look, I got to
That's his DOJ.
Having worked for the family, I can tell you there probably wasn't a ton of sympathy. They felt like that his DOJ weaponized against the Biden family in 2018 when they decided to do what DOJ has never really done for a first-time offender of a low-impact gun charge or missing your taxes the way millions do. They weaponized the DOJ and came after their son, and they've made life pretty miserable for that family. And so I don't think it was a situation of vindication.
Well, I'll tell you, the villain is Hunter. Hunter is the villain because his father, protected him. But anyway, Michael LaRosa, this is fun.
Hunter would argue that he didn't protect him enough.
I look forward to their books when they come out. We'll talk about that.
Democrats should be grateful that her book is coming out now and not closer to the midterms.
Oh, good. I can hardly wait. Anyway, Michael LaRosa, thank you.